Talk me through the health benefits then of eating a raw diet.
Health benefits of eating a raw diet are to lighten up your load. And I love how we're doing this video. This is a video interview, so I can actually show you what I mean. But lighten up your load. So imagine yourself just eating things that your body is naturally meant to process. You know, when we go out into the wild, you know, we can't pick like cheese puffs off of plants or anything like that. We can pick apples, and we can, you know, pick leaves, and we can eat these things in a much more, you know, simplistic way. So our body knows how to adjust. It knows how to work with these compounds in their exact form that they need to be, and how nature has provided them. So a lot of people talk about the science of raw food, and they say, oh yeah, you know, there's different, you know, enzymes, and there's different materials, and there's different phytonutrients and antioxidants in raw foods. And yes, there are. And I think that it's important to know some of that stuff. But the reality is that our science is really only about 50 years, maybe 100 years, maybe 150 years old. And when we start to go towards the science, we completely ignore the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years of nutritional symbiosis. So where animals and humans, or animals and plants, have lived in symbiosis. So, you know, there's that nature, and there's that history, and there's that science that is completely ignored just for our modern science, which is maybe 150 years old.
And there's lots of different diets and lots of different healthy eating plans out there. Can you actually describe your particular approach to it and how it's sort of different?
Yeah. Well, what we do is we don't like to push anyone into anything. And so that really, I think, is the first approach. Now, if someone has a health challenge, you know, 100% raw food is a very, very important thing to do, in my own opinion. And I've seen people who have been eating a very processed diet move to a 100% raw food diet when they had a health challenge, and a lot of their symptoms and a lot of their challenges have actually gone away, so their body has healed themselves. When it comes to our program, you know, what we like to do is we like to say, hey, guys, here's the information. So the information is, do you want to eat something in a box, or do you want to eat what we're actually supposed to be eating, what nature has provided for us? And you know, you can choose either one, but just know that there are consequences when you choose something that's eaten in a box, or something that may not be optimally healthy for you. And so what we do is we take an approach called high raw. And high raw meaning, you know, you eat as much raw as possibly for where you are at the moment. Because again, you know, when I first started, I wasn't 100% raw, and I'm not 100% raw now, but I've been 100% raw in between. So that means for me, you know, at different points, different thing worked. And so for us, I think we become so rigid, we think black and white all the time in terms of nutrition, whereas, you know, we don't all come at it with the same set of circumstances. So for instance, maybe we do have a factory-specific diet. So maybe there is something, you know, we come out of the box and we're supposed to eat specific things. But humans have moved. So, you know, I'm in San Francisco, you know, there's someone up in Canada, there's someone in Costa Rica. So that's one factor that's an unknown. So we don't know, you know, whether, you know, if we're supposed to be in England in the winter, or if we're supposed to be in Canada in the winter. We don't know this, and I don't think we are, because if we were to be in the middle of you know, Chicago in the middle of winter, you know, our clothes, I mean, or our covering isn't really suited to keep us warm, right? And the other factor is this, is that we each, over our lifetimes, have had different types of challenges that may have impaired our digestion. So some of us may have drank chlorinated water, some of us may have taken antibiotics, some of us may have had extreme stress, and there are other factors as well, but all those factors can contribute to how your food is being absorbed through your intestines. And if your food is not being absorbed well, then that means you might need a different requirement than someone else. So someone else may be absorbing protein very well from plants, and then they can just eat plants and get the protein. Some people might not have enough HCl in their system, and then they can't. So they have to have some sort of protein supplement added on to what they're doing in order to get the same results.
What's the most challenging thing then that you think that people have faced going from really processed diet to all of a sudden, you know, trying to eat more nutrition, more raw food? What will they experience, and are there any particular side effects to be aware of?
Yeah, well, one of the side effects is that you're going to feel great. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to feel that or not, but some people aren't prepared to feel that way. So some people, you know, they get out of bed and you know, everyone has a computer or a cell phone. You look at like your cell phone here, and you know, you look at the battery and you see the battery like kind of go down, right? And then maybe it's at like 15%. A lot of us are running at that 15% all the time, and we don't even realize it. So when some people change their diet, their energy levels skyrocket and they just feel amazing. And what happens is like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this energy? I'm not even comfortable with all of it. So that's one challenge that some people can run into. Other challenges is that they go into, say, a raw foods diet and they don't eat enough food. So they just don't get enough calories. So they can go into some juice fasting type protocol or juice feasting protocol, or even just a blended smoothie or green smoothie type protocol. And what happens is that they just don't get enough calories. So if you don't get enough calories, your system isn't going to work properly. And you might not be getting enough minerals, you might not be getting enough nutrients. A lot of things can happen, and that can cause a whole bunch of different things like headaches. It can cause, lethargy. It can cause, eventually deficiencies can cause illness. It can cause emotional stuff going on in the head. So there's a lot of things that happen that people just kind of aren't aware of, that when they work with, when they do it over time, they can kind of learn. But when you jump into it, which I recommend to some degree, is just start something. You'll kind of find your own way, and you'll find your own little, you'll find the idiosyncrasies and little things that happen. And as long as you have an open mind to deal with them, you'll be able to.
And how long will it take then to notice any particular weight loss or any health improvements?
Well, the energy increases almost instantly. So, even just one day of eating raw food, which I challenge anyone to do, even just one day of eating raw food, you'll notice that your battery is running on 15%, and that you can bump it up to 50%, or you can bump it up to 60 or 70. So just one day will start to feel better. And when you're feeling better, what's happening is that you've lightened up the load. So that means what's coming next is that your body will turn on its own self-healing mechanism and will start to heal itself. Just like a scab on your hand or your face or something, just as that heals, when your body is not using its resources always to digest and be stressed out, what happens is it starts to kind of clean house. It starts to clean up. It starts to heal. And you'll also notice that if you do have scabs while you're eating a healthier diet, that they'll go away faster. And what that specifically means is that everything else inside of you is healing fast as well, which is really kind of powerful.
Is there any particular myth that you can debunk about raw food?
Oh my gosh, there are a lot of myths about raw food. There's a lot of myths about everything, and so it's kind of one of these things. It's like, which ones do you choose? One of them, I think, is the detoxification symptom myth. So some people will say, oh, I'm experiencing detoxification symptoms like 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years down the line. And chances are that's not a detoxification symptom. That's actually probably a deficiency. And it probably is a borderline illness. And it probably needs to be taken care of through seeing a medical practitioner, a naturopath, if you will, or a nutritionist, or getting some blood testing or getting some hair mineral tests to see if you actually do have a deficiency or not. Because we can't just rely on detoxification symptom myths and hope that we'll be in great health. So that's one of the big ones. So a lot of people say, oh, I have this massive headache. I couldn't get out of bed. I've been fasting for, 20 days, or I've been fasting for 7 days, and I've only been having 3 cups of green juice a day. Well, that's actually symptoms of starvation. It's not symptoms of detoxification. Now, in some cases, some people who have extreme health issues, they may need to do something like that in order to get better, because their body might need to literally almost shut down in order for it to come back again. But that's generally preferred to do with a practitioner, in my opinion.
What is your number one secret to improving health and fitness, something that people can take away from this interview and actually do right now?
Yeah, well, here's what it is it involves your mindset, and it involves what you're doing on a daily basis. So it's not really all about eating raw food, or it's not about getting out and doing your fitness, or it's not about dealing with your stress management. It's asking yourself simple questions. And so in the morning, what I do is I ask myself very specific questions every day. And one of them is, what can I do today that'll help me be healthier than I was yesterday? And what that question does is it frames my mind into a place where I'm always thinking about what I can do that's healthier. And so you don't have to create a habit of going to the gym. You have to create a habit of asking yourself, what can I do today to improve my fitness? And once you start asking that question, the habit going to the gym actually happens. The only thing that you have to do is remember to ask yourself the question. And so asking yourself very specific questions, what can I do today to help me be healthier than I was yesterday? What can I do today to help me improve my fitness? What can I do today to help me improve my reach, to reach more people? So this is like a personal goal that I have. What can I do to help please my wife? I mean, things like this will put you in a good position. So you never really have to focus on the actual act of it. You just have to ask yourself the question, and then the acts actually come afterwards.
Do you have any funny stories then about health and nutrition?
Yeah, I do. This is. I think you guys will enjoy this. My mother had cancer, I believe breast cancer 10 years ago. That's not the part you'll enjoy. She's okay. So I've been trying to teach her about at least veganism for a long period of time. So my mother's really the only self-proclaimed vegan who eats meat 5 days a week, right? So I have no idea what that means, but she calls herself a vegan diet. I eat a vegan diet. I said, okay, Mom, whatever. And we come over and she's got a pork roast on, coming out of the oven. But anyway, we've been trying to teach her about the vegan diet and about, just getting healthier, because we know that if you're eating less animal protein, your chances of cancer are reduced. Very simple. So I don't want my mom to have cancer again, so I want her chances to be reduced. So we've been talking about it, and every time we go over, we try to bring, healthy raw foods and different vegetables and all sorts of stuff, and it just doesn't seem to get into her head. And then about 6 months ago, we came home and we were there for the holidays, and my mother came up to me right when I came home. She said, "Kevin, you have to hear about this." And I said, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" And she said, "There's this guy, his name is Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and he's teaching about the vegan diet." She said, "This incredible thing called the vegan diet, and he's got this cancer project." And she ran upstairs and she got this book that has, vegan recipes, anti-cancer diet, all this sorts of stuff. And she's like, this is amazing stuff. She's like, "Do you know about this?" And I said, "Of course I know about this. I know what Joel Fuhrman is. I've learned from the guy." And then she says to me this. She said, and get this, you know how we eat a lot of pasta, we're Italian, this sort of stuff. I said, "Yes, Mom, I do understand that." And she said, "Well, they even have this vegan Parmesan, and it's with nuts, and you can put it on your pasta." And so literally at the same time, I looked at her and said, "Mom, this is really cool." And we had a bag next to us, and we had brought a salad, and I reached into the bag and I pulled out the Parma, which is the vegan Parmesan. I said, "Is this what he was talking about?" And she goes, "Yes, it was. Oh, you have it too? You know about this stuff?" And ever since then, my mother has really kind of turned over and started listening to us, because she really, she made the connection with someone else. So it's kind of a lesson to anyone else who wants to kind of teach a healthy diet to someone, is that it may not come from you. So they might not listen to you, but they may listen to someone else. And once they do, then suddenly the credibility in their eyes of you, completely rises, and then they'll start to listen to you. How cool is that? So that's my story.
So when you first started eating raw food, what was the most important thing that you did to make it a habit?
Yeah, the most important thing was asking the questions. So that's number one. Number two is I do a lot of lectures. So we've been in over 50 cities over the last year, talking in all different places and talking in front of audiences of 20 people to 300 people. So we've talked to a lot of people, and I know that these people are going to other lectures too. So they're learning a whole bunch of stuff from a whole bunch of different people. And I even experienced it when I was doing interviews on the phone with people, because I would hear someone talk and I'd say, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing stuff. I have to do all of it right now." And that's when I always ran into trouble. So what I kind of did was I created the 99-to-1 rule. So what you do is I give everyone permission to forget 99% of everything that they've heard from a talk that I've done or anyone else. And all they have to do is pick up one thing that they really resonated with them, and then apply that. So for instance, all the things that I've talked about today, if doing raw food for one day actually resonates with you, then by all means, that's all you need to do. You can forget everything else that I've said. If the questions work for you, just do the questions. Ask yourself a question in the morning, and just work with one thing and go for it. I really love Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was really into researching different societies and religions, and he didn't write a book, but he spoke a book that was co-authored by Bill Moyers. It was called The Power of Myth. And one thing that he said in that book is that when you want to really learn something, you take one thing, you really dive into it. So you dive into one subject, one thing, and then what you also do is you go out and you find everything by that person and figure out their philosophy, and then move on to the next thing. And so it's really important to just focus on one thing, apply it, and then move to the next one. apply it, move to the next one, apply it, move to the next one. If you don't do that, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to buy 30 different supplement products. You're going to start on 6 different plans. You're going to buy a juicer, a blender, a dehydrator, all these different things, and everything is going to fall apart for you. They're all going to sit on the counter. They're all going to collect dust because you never really incorporated one thing into your plan to actually make it succeed.
Is there anything different that you do now that you did when you first started? Is there any more kind of guru secret tips that you've got?
Yes, there are guru secrets, but I can't share them with you. I've been sworn by the health gurus to not release these things, or else everyone would get healthy. No. So here's the thing: is that we can't be focused on the black and white. So this is what I've learned. So I've been 0% raw, and I've been 100% raw, and I'm really comfortable, like right here, and things are really good with my health right here. So we can't be stuck inside of a dogma that says, you know, we have to do one thing at all times, because dogma or anything that you know you're reading a book is created in someone's mind, and so there's always shades of gray in between. So when it comes to health, a lot of people I've seen they're stuck in, this is my little dogma thing. I'll do it over side so it don't block my face. But they're stuck in this dogma, and the answer to actually improve their health could be like right here outside of it. And I mean, how painful is that to watch someone who something out here can help them, but they're stuck in this dogma. So I've learned through my own personal experience and stubbornness, I have to be very clear about that, so I've been stubborn about dogma before, that when you do break out of it, a lot of the shackles that kind of feel like they're on you and about all the rules that you've made up, they don't really mean anything. Now, the rule that means the most to me, as of right now, and it will always mean the most to me, is that I want to ethically treat other beings and animals. So that's what sticks with me the most right now. But you cook a plant or you have a plant raw. Well, you know what? Maybe if you can't absorb the raw nutrients, maybe you can absorb the cooked nutrients. So maybe that's better for you right now. Maybe that's it. Or maybe in some cases, some people, their digestion is so poor, they might need to have a little bit of a dairy product, a fermented dairy product. All right. So if you know the farmers who's actually harvesting your dairy, and you know that the animals are treated okay, well, that might be something that you need for a short period of time. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine." So there's a very nutrition is not a black and white thing. There's a very slippery slope between when you get into the black and white thing, because you can end up in that dogma. And then if you embrace the gray, you embrace the in-betweens, you actually can learn some really powerful knowledge that will help you, and then eventually can help other people.
What advice would you give to people who sort of break a habit? How can they kind of get back on track again?
Yeah, the first thing is it's big deal. Who cares? You fell off. No, forget it. Relax the human constraints that you've put on your success. So I did a talk in Atlanta, and there was a girl who was talking about the raw food diet, and she was talking about weight loss, and she said, "It's just not working for me." And I said, "Well, tell me about that." And I said, "Well," she's like, "Well, I don't feel like I'm losing weight fast enough." And I said, "Well, tell me, have you lost any weight?" She's like, "Yeah, I've lost about 20 pounds. I said, "Okay, that's cool." She said, "But I wanted to lose 30 pounds in 3 months. And I said to her, I said, "Look," I said, "Now, who's the one who told you that? Was it, your mind or your body, right? Now, did your body say I want to lose 30 pounds in 3 months, or did your mind say it? And did you ever, kind of like think about the fact that maybe your body just wasn't ready to lose 30 pounds in 3 months?" And she was like, "Oh, that makes sense." And I said, "Well, we put these constructs on ourselves of what's supposed to be, and when they don't happen, we get disappointed. And if we don't have those expectations, then what happens is that we don't get disappointed, and that's good. We don't want to get disappointed, but we need to look forward to something. So we need to have some sort of passion towards something. And generally, when someone starts to lose weight and feel better, they feel energetic, and then that's where they have a passion for feeling that energy, and they start to say, "All right, well, how can I get more of this?" And that's when it becomes almost like a drug, and in a very way, something that's very a very good addictive drug. And so that's one thing. The other thing is that if you don't like your job, or if you don't like your relationship, I almost guarantee you that you will not like the status of your health. Just across the board, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. The people who do not like their jobs, do not like their relationship, they will remain overweight, sick, and emotionally distraught. The people who start to change those things, and I know this is a hard thing to deal with, but the people who start to change those things, who start to really take a hard look at their job and what they're doing and if they really like it and if they're passionate about it, and the people who look at their relationships and say, do I really like this person? Is this someone who I really want to be around? Is this person influencing me in a good way? What's going to happen is that you're going to start to get answers, and a lot of the answers you're not going to like, but when you start to release yourself from that sort of situation, because look, we spend at least 8 hours in our job. I don't know who works 8 hours anymore, but 8 to 12 to 15 hours a day in our job, maybe 24 in some cases. And then with our relationships, when we're not at our job, we're spending all our time with the people who we're supposed to like to be around. And if you don't like either of those, your health is never going to fall into place. And I found that people who have dropped toxic relationships, toxic job, their health has just completely come into place. And it's not even like they tried anything different. So, I mean, imagine if you did try something different, your health could be even better. So those are really two things that I think are really important to just kind of help you get into a framework and help you get into a position where you're really feeling good about your health and about yourself.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Right, that's my final question. That was it. So thanks so much for sparing us the time today. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.